Home sweet home. You know that feeling when everything is going great in your life? Yeah, that's how I felt a little over a year ago. But since my high, I am in a total and utter low. I was 29, and so was my wife. We just got married and were madly in love with each other. We both had well-respected jobs, even thought that we were at the starts of our careers. I was a promising lawyer in a big firm. After I interned, they were so impressed with me that they gave me my own office. Well, the pay wasn't something out of the ordinary. Not yet, at least. But I was sure that one day I would get there. My wife was a successful business consultant, and everyone loved her at the office. We were the perfect couple, as many of our friends said. Right after the wedding, we decided to buy a house. We wanted something with a vintage look to it. We went house hunting for over a month, but finally, we landed on the one we fell in love with. Sure, it was a little out of our budget, but we decided that if we made some cuts here and there on the expenses, we would do just fine. Minoring in history, my wife loved to explore and find out the origins of everything. That's why we went to so many flea markets. Anyway, she was really interested in the origins of that house. But all we found out from the real estate agent is that it was built in 1738. Anyway, we moved in, furnished the place, and put our own spin on it. It turned out amazing, and we couldn't be happier. But my wife still wanted to know everything about the house. She went to the public library, but couldn't find anything. Then she went to City Hall and looked through the records, and she stumbled upon something strange. In the 1800s, the house was involved in a fire. It burned down, completely, as it said there. But when we checked it out before we moved, it didn't seem like it. Also, everything was original on the house, and it definitely hasn't been rebuilt. So she guessed it was something wrong with the paperwork that she found. One day, as I was at work and she decided to stay home because she felt a little under the weather, she decided to go to the attic. We already checked there, and we cleaned up the place, giving it a fresh coat of paint. But as she was walking around there, she stumbled and tripped. As she reached out her hand to regain her balance, she touched one of the walls. It sounded hollow. She started knocking on every wall there, and that place was the only one that sounded different. She waited for me to come home and told me what she discovered. We decided that we should see what's behind it, since she was so curious, so the next thing I knew, I was holding a hammer and ready to ruin our fresh painted walls. We both went up there, and I started hitting the wall, and without any real force necessary, I made a hole. What we saw inside amazed us. It was like we found a hidden treasure. It was a small antique box made out of silver, we thought. It looked handmade and really expensive, so we carefully took it out and went with it to the living room. The box was locked with a small locket, but being so old, a little bit of elbow grease was enough to get into it. Inside, we found some old photos. There was a family, 2 parents and 2 kids, all dressed in white and looking straight at the camera, with blank expressions on their faces. We laughed at how people would dress and take photos a long time ago. Apart from the stills, we saw an old ring made of gold. On the inside, it had the inscription, "On this earth and the next," which my wife thought was so romantic, and next to the ring was an old necklace, also made out of gold, but it had a huge green emerald in the middle. We took the jewelry out and threw the photos away, keeping the silver box, which was one of a kind. Later that day, we went to another flea market, and then went to a jeweler to get the pieces appraised. To our surprise, they were real, and the gold and silver were as pure as they get. The man offered us quite a bit of money for them, but we refused, saying that we just wanted to know what they were worth. We got home, made dinner, drank some wine, and then went to bed. We fell asleep, but my wife kept tossing and turning around all night. She even woke up one time, screaming. I asked her if she was all right, but didn't listen to me and went back to sleep. The next day, she told me all about it. She said that she dreamt about the family in the photos, and they were telling her to get out. Then, the woman that was in the picture put the necklace around my wife's neck, and she felt like she was burning alive. I guess that was the moment she woke up, screaming. Being a rational person, she didn't let that bother her, and from that day on, she started to wear the necklace. The ring, on the other hand, was for a man, but as I am not a person that would wear something like that, decided to leave it in the box. Ever since she started wearing that necklace, she changed. A bit more every single day. My wife started to become absent. She would take a lot of days off from work, saying that she doesn't feel good. We went to the doctors and made every investigation possible, but nothing came up. Still, she was looking more and more pale as the days went on. She didn't eat. She didn't cook. She would not take care of herself. I thought that she'd fallen into some type of depression, so I suggested we visit a therapist. We did just that, but without any result. Her condition was getting worse and worse every single day. I was desperate. My soulmate was gone, and it seemed like there was only a shell of her former self left. She would sleep all day. When I got home and when I left, she was usually sleeping. She didn't have any energy left in her body. Her drive was gone. I tried to take her out, do some outdoor activities, but that didn't work. I tried bringing her flowers every day and gifts, complimenting her every time I saw her. But it seemed like everything I did was in vain. She would just ignore me or look the other way. One night, we were sleeping. The smell of smoke woke me up. I opened my eyes and asked her if she smelled something, but when I turned my head to look at her, she wasn't in the bed. That's the moment I panicked. I got up as quickly as I could and went downstairs. I saw that the kitchen was on fire. So I grabbed the fire extinguisher, and with a little bit of luck, I managed to save a small part of the kitchen. Luckily, it didn't blow up, and the fire didn't reach the gas pipes. But my wife was nowhere to be found. I called her, but she didn't answer, so I started looking around the house. I checked out every room of the house, but they were empty. Where could she be? I went in front of the house, and there was nothing there. All of a sudden, I felt the urge to look up, and as I did, there she was, on the roof of the house, with her hands spread apart. I told her not to move, and I rushed upstairs. How did she even get up there? I didn't know we had a door to get down the roof. As I arrived upstairs, I saw that the door to the attic was open, so I climbed in there. Then, I saw that we did have a door to the roof, and I slowly got up so I won't startle her. I started talking to her as I gently approached my wife. I kept asking what she was doing, and tried to make jokes, saying that the view was better from up there. But nothing. She didn't acknowledge me. As I was a few feet away from her, she suddenly turned around and looked me in the eyes. She had the same look on her face as the people in those old pictures had. "Come here, I got you," I told her. but the next thing she did was jump from the roof. I screamed in agony as I was not able to grab her. The next thing I saw was her, on the ground, lifeless, with the necklace glistening in the moonlight. Since then, my life fell apart, and I was never the same.